Hello, this is Jill Slinker, Director of the Department of Student Programs. Thank you for agreeing to proctor this contest. This webinar will guide you through the proctoring process. It's also available in PDF form on our webpage. This year, we'll be having the student captains enter their answers on the electronic score sheet and then show you the answer to record on the paper answer sheet. This process will dramatically cut down on the time it takes to determine state results by helping us resolve any conflicts with questions quickly. I have broken down this process into your basic responsibilities as a proctor and a step-by-step guide on how to run the electronic answer sheets and the electronic roster sheets used at your site. Your first responsibility as a proctor is to check students who sign in to your round against the official Google roster sheet on your device. Students may only compete in 2 subject rounds. If this is a junior competition, they may also add the interdisciplinary round, or if it's the senior competition at state finals, they can add the interdisciplinary round as well. You will have students sign in on the top of the paper answer sheet and indicate the captain. If there are substitutions after question 12, please sign in the substitutes, clicking the radio button, the check marks button on the Google roster sheet, and have them sign the answer sheet in the spaces provided. If the student's name does not appear on the squad list on the roster, contact the scorekeeper immediately. Do not let them answer any questions yet. A non-eligible competitor will cause the squad to be disqualified. If you catch this before they compete, the person can be replaced by a qualified squad member, or the team can compete short a member. This is the official paper answer sheet. You will be entering the students' answers on the paper answer sheet. Here is what the blank score sheet and we'll show you the roster here in a minute, but here's what the blank score sheet looks like. There are 2 parts to the paper score sheet. The top is where you will write the school subject and the names of the team members. The middle section is where you will record their answers, and the bottom is used to just calculate the tie-breaking scores. After question 12, all students except the captain may choose to sub out, and then the subs must sign in following the same procedure that the original team members did. The minimum number of competitors per squad per round is 1. 3 may compete at a time in the subject area rounds, and 4 at a time during the ID round. When the students first sit down at your table, you will need to check their names on the paper answer sheet against the copy of the official roster, which you will have on the electronic device that you are using. After reading the directions on the electronic score sheet, you will need to scroll down to find the roster for your students. I've shown you on the sheet here what the instructions will look like. There are 2 parts to those. You have instructions for the coaches, and that's to complete the roster sheet. And then there are instructions for you as the proctor. You'll check the student in for a round, make sure that student is on the roster. So you check the paper answer sheet against this electronic roster. You mark it for the current round. Okay, so when you look at this, you will see that, for example, our lovely Rydell High team, Chacha de Gregorio, is listed as the captain for the Fine Arts team. And she's listed also on Social Studies team. So if you're checking students in for the Fine Arts team, you know that Chacha is going to have to stay the entire round. And you'll also see that Sandy Olson is on that team. That ought to make for quite a dynamic. But anyway, once you check them in, you as the captain or you as the proctor of the team will check the checkbox to make sure that they are signed in for the team. So you'll see the checkbox there, like under the science round, we've got our 3 science team members all checked in for the round. You will also see that they've not only been marked as an with an X as a member of the squad, but students will additionally be marked, for example, as the captain with the letter C. Or if their school has had enough people to have more than one squad, they will indicate which squad they are on. They can have up to 2 squads. So if you have an indication of a second squad, you will have the A or the B listed there so that you know that this student is on squad A or squad B for that team. And you can make sure that they are signed in for the team that you are actually supposed to be proctoring for that round. And again, you just need to click the box in next to their name to make sure that they have signed in. You do need to make sure that they are signing in for no more than 2 subject area rounds and possibly the interdisciplinary round, depending upon which level you are proctoring. Okay, let's move on to those calculators. First of all, if you are proctoring the math, science, or interdisciplinary rounds, this screen will appear before the round starts. Please make sure to check the calculators that the students have brought with them to the table against what the screen says is allowed. These are the only 2 models acceptable. If they have a different calculator, raise your hand for the procedural official before the round begins. Don't let them use an unacceptable calculator. If the student has brought a backup calculator that is acceptable, then he should be allowed to replace the incorrect model with the ones right if they can. In the only 2 acceptable models are the TI-30XA and the TI-30X2S. In no round is it acceptable for a student to have a smartwatch or device or phone with them at the table. Make sure to check for this at the beginning of the round. They can just, take it back to their coach to hold for them, but, they should not have that at the table with them. When you are proctoring a round, please make sure that you get to the table quickly so that you can familiarize yourself with the materials that are there and the electronic score sheet and roster that you will be using. You should have answer sheets, scrap paper, pencils, red pens, an electronic device for scoring and checking rosters, and any necessary handouts. If there are charts or tables to distribute in your round, generally only in math, science, or ID, the MC will instruct you to do so before you begin. Instructions for accessing each individual round are on a slide that is coming up in the Keeping Score Electronically section, and it will be printed and on your contest table. So, the students will often write down an answer chart once the rounds have begun and then use that to point to the right answer during the question. This is perfectly fine. Once the word begin is said, then they can discuss the answer orally. So, during the round, students may not orally confer with other squad members until the reader says begin after each question. Only written communication is allowed before the word begin, and that is perfectly acceptable. Scrap paper will be available at each table. No notes, formulas, etc. may be written on any paper or entered into the calculator by any member of the squad until the reader begins the first question of the round. That is acceptable. They can start writing formulas as soon as that first question has begun. And if it's the first round and that's the practice question, that's fine as well. Once a round has begun, students may write down any information at any time for the remainder of the round. If an infraction of this rule occurs, generally if they, start talking before we say begin, the proctor will warn the squad captain, remind the squad of the rule. If the squad continues to confer vocally before the word begin, the proctor needs to notify the procedural committee and have them respond to the situation. Okay, keeping score itself. It may look daunting at first, but once you do a practice question or two, you'll see how smoothly it should go. The paper answer sheets are used as a backup and verification of the electronic score sheets that the students will be entering their answers on. So, when you as a proctor have been assigned your team and sit down at the table to start your round, you need to go through a quick process to access the right forms for your round of the competition. Now, you may have done this or you may do this during the coach proctor meeting. That's a distinct possibility. But this slide is going to cover the basics. You'll need to check to see if you are at the right table by looking at the sheet at the table shown at the right. Now, your host will have filled in the school name and the tab number for your team that you are proctoring. That should be given to you at the proctor meeting before the competition. Now, if they haven't set up each of your computers individually, for example, if you brought your own device, you'll need to do this step during the coach's proctors meeting. You'll need to open up the internet browser window, type in Google Sheets in the URL window, and sign in with the username, email, and password that's provided by your host. Now, they may have written it on the sheet for you. They should have done so. It should be easy at that point. Once you have provided that information, you'll have the set of files that you need for this particular contest. You'll select the round for the round sheet for the first round, whichever round you're proctoring, and then you will open the document. You'll find the tabs along the bottom of the Google Sheet. They are numbered tabs. You'll select the tab number indicated on the top of this sheet. Double check you're on the right school and the right subject area, and you are ready to go. When you're finished with the round, you need to verify the scores and click the Google Sheets icon on the upper left to go back to the set of files that we have given the school so that the next proctor can find the next round's information. You also need to open up the roster form. You can keep that roster form open the entire competition because each subject area will need to reference that form throughout the competition. So check for the correct school name and tab. Before round one, if the host doesn't set it up, you'll need to follow those directions. Before round one, if the host has already set it up, you can start the directions there. And then if you are not the first round, all the remaining rounds have these directions. So your school name, tab number, the user email you need, and the login password, and then continue on. Okay. So once you log in and access that file, this is what you should see. Okay. It's a Google Drive file, and you will see the subject area for each one of the subjects that you have. I mean, these are old files, obviously, but you'll have a document for your roster and you'll have all your subject areas back there. Okay. Now, once you open up one of these documents, then at the top left, you'll see, okay, it's the English round. You'll see the school that you're supposed to be proctoring. In this case, it's Connorsville, the class that they're in, and the subject area that you are supposed to be proctoring. Once you have done the round, at the end of the round, the boxes in yellow, okay, are the scores that will match the paper answer sheet tiebreakers that you have entered on the paper answer sheet. So I'll give you the details on how to score the round in a moment, but at the end of each round, you will verify the score totals by cross-referencing with the paper score sheet that you recorded their answers on. So all of this electronic stuff, other than just accessing the document at the beginning, the students will be entering their answers on the score sheet. At the end of each round, you'll verify their score totals When the round is finished, you click the green Google Sheets icon to go back to this list of documents, and then that will be ready, make you ready for the next round. Okay, so here's a summary of the scoring system here. Now that I've explained how to set up the score sheets for the contest, let me explain how to use them during the contest itself. The slide summarizes the process, but then I'll take you through it step by step and show you what you and the student should see as you go along. Okay, this is just a basic summary of what the students and you will be doing during the reading and scoring of the questions. So, during the question reading, remember teams can non-verbally communicate, write on scrap paper, work on their calculator, enter answers on the electronic sheet, etc. That's during the reading. After the reader says begin, they may do all of the above, plus speak to each other. Before time expires, the team captain will enter their answer on the electronic score sheet, hit tab to record their answer, and then show it to you as a proctor. When the pencils up slide is revealed, circle the answer they show you on the paper answer sheet. Then we'll reveal the correct answer. It goes relatively quickly, but I pause to give you some time to get that circle down. When the correct answer is revealed, the computer screen will update when the central scorekeeper enters the answer key. You then, as the proctor, mark the paper copy appropriately with a plus for a correct answer and a line drawn through the answer choices for an incorrect answer. Then at the end of the round, you will calculate the scores on the paper copy. The team captain basically does the same. So you will have the score and the tiebreaker written down on the bottom of the paper copy. The team captain will verify that by writing down those numbers. You will make sure that your score and his score or her score will match on the paper, and then also match the electronic document. That's really important. You've got to make sure that your paper matches the electronic document. Once all three of those match, then the proctor and the captain will sign off on the paper copy that what you have submitted is correct. Okay, so how to do each round individually here, what it's going to look like on the electronic score. Remember, the student is going to be entering this, but if they have, a question, it will help if you can answer questions. So once we have the electronic Google Sheet opened, you'll select the proper tab at the bottom of the page. Check to see which school you're on. You verify under column A that the team name, their class, the subject area round are all correct. If they are, then you're good to go. If not, raise your hand, call the scorekeeper, and they'll help you find the right page. Okay? So, during the contest itself, the team captain will enter the contestant's official answer into the red boxes before the time expires and hit tab. Okay? After the pencils up is called, the captain will show you their answer, which you will record on the paper answer sheet. Then the answer will be scored according to the directions to come, okay? And that happens basically, the only way that sheet is going to be scored, that electronic sheet is going to be scored, is if the host has a central scorekeeper entering the answers on the answer key as the contest is going along. Okay. The electronic score sheet will then keep a running total of scores and tiebreakers. All right. So the red boxes are where the students enter their answer. If you notice right now, there are no answers entered. So under the question numbers 1 through 25 there's a 0. Okay. That 0 will change if the answer is correct. Okay, so if the answer is correct, the 0 will turn to a 1 and the cell with the 0 and 1 will turn green. Okay, the yellow boxes on the right keep a running total of the score and the 3 tiebreakers. Until you reach question 21, tiebreaker 1 and 2 will stay at a 0. Tiebreaker 3 is how many questions they got right in a row, so that calculates all the way through the round. Tiebreaker 1 and 2 don't kick in until question 21. So let's look at that paper answer sheet. After the correct answer is revealed on the paper answer sheet, what you need to do, if they answered correctly, you should mark a plus to the left of the answers. Don't use check marks, don't use circles, don't use anything else. Just mark a plus in the space that is given for the scoring. If the student answers incorrectly, Proctor should draw a line through the entire line of the response. And then you'll calculate the tiebreakers. Make sure to check against the Google electronic answer sheet at the bottom to make sure that they are all correct. The proctor and the captain will sign the paper answer sheet. Do not make any additional marks on the page, like marking which answer was the correct one. So let's take a look at that sheet a little bit closer. We've already talked about, signing everybody in. So let's just look at the bottom of this where we've marked correct answers with a plus and drawn a line through the incorrect answers in that sheet. And then you will calculate total number of correct answers. Go through and count your pluses. Tiebreaker number 1 is correct answers in the last 5 questions. And you will notice that there's a space in between. And we've marked what you're counting for tiebreaker 1, what you're counting for tiebreaker 2, just to give you a little help there. So when we look at tiebreaker 1, it counts the last 5 questions. So in the last 5 questions, they got 4 right. So there's a 4. They got 15 right overall. Tiebreaker 2, in the last 3 questions, how many did they get right? So from questions 23 to 25, they got 2. And then tiebreaker 3 is how many did they get right in a row? And this one takes a little bit because you've got 2 columns. And I look and I see, 3 right, 3 right, 3 right in a row. But then, wait a minute, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So that's 4 right in a row, 4 right in a row. The captain does the same thing over on the right and indicates, yes, those answers are correct. You as the proctor and the team captain both sign the sheet to indicate that it is correct. Okay? So this is how a completed round should look on the electronic sheet. Remember, you've got your team name, class, subject area. You notice that all the red cells have now disappeared and been replaced with the number of the answer that you were shown by the contestant. If they do not answer in time, make sure that they enter an X in the red box. One of the challenges that we have sometimes with proctors is that you get, excited about finishing a round, or students get excited about finishing a round as well and forget to tab out of the final box. So please make sure on this sheet that there are no red boxes left. So make sure they've tabbed out of the final box so that everything will score like it is supposed to. Notice that if the correct answer is given, the 0 turned to a 1 and the cell turned green. So that makes it easier to count things up. The yellow boxes keep a running total, score, and 3 tiebreakers. Tiebreaker 1, total number of correct answers, 21 to 25. Tiebreaker 2, total number of correct answers, 23 to 25. Tiebreaker 3, longest streak of correct answers in a row. Okay? All right. If the screen does not match your answer sheet, You need to make the needed change between questions or at the end of the round. Do not interrupt the question process to discuss scoring issues. We can get it all taken care of before the contestants leave the table. A reminder, there are no appeals on the answers to the questions. All answers stand as presented. If you feel an answer is wrong, you're encouraged to email written appeals to Jill Slinker, that would be me, jslinker@iasp.org, with documentation proving the answer wrong by 9 a.m. the morning after the contest. All written appeals will be shared with the original question writers. Area awards will not be changed. So thank you again for agreeing to proctor today's competition. Without volunteers like you, these events would not be possible. Good luck and have fun.